Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. Sorry for the lack of uploads lately. I haven't been feeling well. Feeling a little better, so tonight I'm going to bring you some Michigan Dogman encounters. Before we start, I just want to let everyone know my second channel, the link is in the description. Also, my merch link is in the description along with my PayPal account. If you guys would like to buy me a coffee or just help out with the channel a little bit. Also, I have new music and it was written just for me by a great artist named Tanner Stokes. His link is also in the description. So the music you hear behind me while I'm talking will not be too loud, but it will be just perfect because it was written just for me. And with that, let's get on with the Dogman encounters. Our first Dogman encounter comes to us from Manistee County, Michigan, July of 1975. I never saw it, but in 1975, I was newly married, about 21 years old, and had a small baby. My sister, who was a teenager, was visiting us. My husband, my sister, and I had all gone to our bedrooms to settle down and go to sleep. I would say it was around 11 or 12 at night. We were just starting to relax and get sleepy when, out of nowhere, there was this horrible, loud howl/yell. I mean, it was so loud, it made my chest vibrate and my ears hurt. The sound was not human, but had a guttural, human-like sound mixed with what sounded like a wolf. We were living in a mobile home at the time, and it howled just outside our back door in the hallway near our bedroom. We jumped out of bed, looked at each other, and both said at the same time, "What the hell is that?" My husband was 10 years older than I was and was an avid hunter. He wasn't the kind of guy to scare easy. His face drained of color. My sister came running down the hallway, white as a ghost, and said, "What was that?" I told her I didn't know. My husband said he was going to get his rifle and grabbed it out of the closet. He opened the back door and yelled out into the wind, "You better get off the blankety-blank out of my property or I'll blow your head off." He listened for a moment before I yelled at him, "Please shut the door." He did, and we never heard any more after that. Needless to say, we stayed up all night afraid to go to sleep. I have never forgotten that howl. There's no way it was a dog or coyote. I have heard both howl. It wasn't a guy joking around either. It was so loud there was no way a human could have made that sound. Our next Dogman encounter happened in Osceola County, Michigan, January 2016. I encountered a bipedal wolf-like creature here in western Michigan, and it's got me spooked. I was out shoveling snow, as it's common here in my state. My encounter happened in a place just south of Rothbury, Michigan. I decided to take a walk in my family's woods one day, and that's when my life changed forever. My family owns 270 acres of land here in the town or city of Montague, Michigan. I ventured out into those woods, as I've done many times before. The walk started as anyone would. I started to follow the creek south and check for deer stands on our property. The walk went as planned until I got about 300 yards south of the house. I stopped to have a cigarette and my eyes started to wander. As I scoped for deer or coyote, as I gazed back and forth, I noticed this figure and froze. I literally froze. This thing made eye contact with me and then stood up. It was hairy, had very broad shoulders and amber-colored eyes. It let out a growl unlike any other I've ever heard. This wolf, as I call it, made 2 leaps and was gone. The most surprising thing about this encounter was how silent the woods were up until when I had my encounter. We have another Dogman encounter coming from Osceola County, Michigan, 2009, February. My encounter happened in February of 2009. In November of 2008, I broke my arm and was basically stranded at home. I was unable to drive or work and was going stark raving mad with boredom. My best friend would drive the 30 miles north from Muskegon to pick me up in Shelby, just to take me back to Muskegon for a visit at her home. She would take me to dinner or out to see a movie, only to deliver me home to Shelby after whichever activity. It was truly a selfless act of love. One night she was driving me home. It was very late, well after 11 p.m. We were on the US 31 northbound around the Rothbury area of Osceola County. On the expressway. Being February in Michigan, the roads were naturally snowy with scattered patches of ice and bare pavement. There was a small pickup truck in front of us, about 5 car lengths ahead of our car, when all of a sudden we saw something on 2 legs dart out from the left, just in front of the overpass. It ran across the 2-lane highway and hit the back of the small pickup in the rear quarter panel, causing the pickup to fishtail. Luckily, the driver of the small pickup regained control, but they didn't stop to see what collided with their truck. If anything, it seemed to pick up speed and get the hell out of there. My friend and I watched in utter astonishment as the creature finished running to the right and disappeared into the weeds and trees along the highway. It didn't even break stride after it hit the truck. We looked at one another, sat in silence for a moment, and then said, "Did you see?" She said, "Yeah, I saw it." We finished the ride to my house in silence, both lost in our thoughts. It looked like a giant dog or wolf. It was on its hind legs, not all 4s, and it was at least 7 feet tall. It had pointed ears, a kind of mane around its neck, much like a lion's mane. It was dark in color, and its hind legs looked like a dog's, which was even more pronounced, as it was running only on its hind legs. Its front legs were freely swinging as it ran and seemed to have its mouth slightly open. It had an elongated face, much like a collie's face, and a long nose protruding from its face. Its face was covered by longish hair. The entire creature seemed to be covered with long hair, but I can't recall if it had a tail. Something tells me it did, but I can't recall for certain. So I don't want to say it did, when in fact I'm not sure. So thought perhaps it may have been one of the Michigan Dogmen that we are said to be in our area. Being a former Native American area, we have heard many stories, but never met anyone that had a first-hand encounter. It's always someone you knew someone and had one. But now, my best friend and I definitely saw it. We had our own first-hand experience. Our encounter was brief and over in a matter of mere moments, but it was front and center of us, and we saw it clear as a bell. Our next Dogman encounter happened in Saginaw County, Michigan, 2009. I was arriving home to my apartment at 11:45-ish when I felt a presence by the wood line. I saw something look at me, and then finally I saw those 2 eyes. It seemed like it was stalking me. I could only see eyes in the shape of its head. I really couldn't see its body, but instantly I felt fear and went inside my apartment. When I went inside, I started to look through the blinds just a little bit. I didn't want to move the blinds that much because I knew he knew where I was, so I didn't want to move the window blinds. Then I saw it heading my way. This beast looked like a bodybuilder with a wolf or dog head. Because of its silhouette, the thing must have been 7 to 8 foot tall. It stopped just for a second, right in front of my window, and then left. I have never had fear like that in my entire life. Our next Dogman encounter happened in Washtenaw County, Michigan. 3 separate occasions. Their first one was in September of 2005. I've had 3 different encounters with 3 different creatures, and I know what I saw. When I was younger, I saw what looked like a wolf or a big German shepherd on its hind legs running through a very thick patch of woods. It only happened for a second, but I remember a long muzzle and pointed ears distinctively. Our next encounter was in July of 2015. The second encounter was more exciting. It was late at night after a small barbecue party at my uncle's farm, miles north of Ann Arbor. I was coming out of the barn to get some more food when I heard sticks breaking in the tree line to my right. My first impression was that one of the big dogs got outside, so I went to see if that was the case. I walked towards the sound and remember hearing the creature flinch because the movement stopped as I approached. I called out for the golden retriever and peered into the trees. The barn had spotlights facing the house, and with the white paint job on it, it created a glow that allowed me to see better. About 7 feet off the ground, a long muzzle poked through the trees, followed by a full figure of this creature. It was only 20 feet away from me, so I got the full picture. It was tall and lean, but very muscular. It had a distinct brown pelt on its body with blackish fur on its shoulders. It had huge paws for feet, but its hands looked like they had 5 fingers, so they resembled long human hands except for the fur and claws on them. Its head was the scariest. This thing had a huge set of canines. It looked like it was snarling, but I believe it was trying to smile. I couldn't make out exactly what eye color it had because of how dark it was, but they were piercing my soul. As the creature came into full view, I remember saying out loud, "Werewolf!" I backed up slowly, and the creature stood there, like a proud man standing over a deer he had just hunted. It watched me for about 30 seconds, but it felt like 30 minutes. That's when my father, uncle, cousin, and grandfather all came out of the barn. When I tell you this thing ran, I mean it ran. It turned around, dropped on all 4s, and leapt into the forest, making only a slight noise. I told my cousin about it, but he didn't believe me. I knew my father wouldn't believe me because he doesn't believe in anything. His next encounter happened in February of 2017. 4 days ago, in my own backyard, the same type of creature knocked on my window. My curtains were drawn to give me a view of the woods. I live in the middle of a patch of woods near a fire road. I wasn't asleep yet and couldn't describe what was wrong, but I felt uneasy. I was trying to sleep when I heard a slight scrape on the house wall below my window. My window is 8 feet off the ground. When I sat up in bed to see what was going on, I saw the head of what I can only describe as a werewolf in my window, which was only 10 feet from my bed. I cursed, jumped up, turned on the light, and grabbed my survival machete I had in my closet. I turned to see if it was still there, but it had disappeared. The next day, I went outside to see if I could find any tracks or anything that might prove what I saw, but I never found anything. For about a day, I was unsure of myself. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and stay tuned for some more Dogman encounters. I've got some exciting subscriber stories coming, and on my second channel, I've got some really good creepypastas coming. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks for all the support, and can't wait to see you till next video. Have a good night, guys.